so many great songs and great, wonderful experiences at the parks. I don't want to single anyone out. I wouldn't, because I love them all. They're all very special, very elegant. And I know a lot of the composers and writers who have written these things, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So I just say I love them all. They're great. You know, I mean, if you have 25 children you adore, you're not going to pick out one of them. There's so many wonderful attractions. Honestly, I tell you something. We have a thing with my family when we come to Disneyland. The first thing we do is we go to Small World, because that's kind of a must. You know, it's like we have to get there first. And so we do Small World, and then I kind of adore Pirates of the Caribbean. I think that's such a great thing, such an accomplishment, such a remarkable thing. Plus, you don't get a stiff neck to be whipped around by some of the other rides. So I love that ride. It's very special. And I remember a lot of the Imagineers that worked on that. They were working on these wonderful faces of the pirates and everything. And I saw it all coming to life. So it's very special, meaningfully exciting to me.
Yeah, I went on Space Mountain last night, and I'm still feeling it today.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I think I'm more of a Pirates gal myself. Or It's a Small World, of course.
Oh, thank you.
All right, let's
blame him for having it. And the other thing is, no, it doesn't get stuck in my head. I mean, I have so many songs that I've written over the many, many years that I've been writing songs, that they're all my children. I love them very much for what they were and what they are. I'm particularly fond of Small World for the message, the hope for peace and the understanding that the message is all about. But it doesn't stick in my head, it's just in my heart, you know, there it is. People still have this problem of not communicating together, not sharing the problems that we all have. If everybody could understand each other and realize that we all live in this one place, we wouldn't have the conflicts we have. And conflict keeps going on and on and on. So naturally, it's very relevant today. It's very important.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows that he was a very remarkable individual. He had a troupe of incredible, gifted, talented people working for him. But he never told them, no matter what it was, if it was a set design, or if it was a costume design, or if it was some accomplishment they had done, he'd never say, gosh, that's wonderful, I love that. He would only say, yep, that'll work. And when he said, that'll work to us, we knew that was it, boy, the boss loved it. And that's the way Walt was. Behind your back, he would say, they wrote the perfect song for me, or they did the most perfect set I've ever seen, but never in your face. It was always like, keep you on your edge. And so that's the way he was. And he was a super genius, a great man, and he had these visions of things, and he knew people's capabilities. Even the person didn't know he could do something. He said, yeah, you can do it. Because with us, when we were told we had to write this song and he needed it right away, he said, you know, we have this mess, the cacophony, we have all these singers from different countries singing the same at the same time, and it's terrible. We have to have one song, and I needed it right away. It has to talk about understanding and peace and the children of the world. And he was throwing all these things at us, and he said, I need it right away. He said, well, Walt, he said, you can do it. And he sent us out. And yeah, that was the way Walt worked.
Now, besides going to the faster paced version, were there any other versions of the song that you presented to Walt at the time?
We had written 3 different songs. We thought that Small World was too simple. And so we said, it's too folksy, we got to do something better. So we wrote a more sophisticated melodic line, and the same idea, but a different thing. And that was a little, no, we didn't like that. So we tried a third way. And I remember we got the phone call from Walt's secretary one day, and Walt said, well, where's my song? I need that song. And he knew that we were pretty fast, but this was taking too long. So we heard him coming down the hall, and Bob looked at me, and I looked at him and said, okay, let's play the first one. That's Small World. And he heard that and said, yep, that'll work.
How did you find the translations for all the different countries?
Walt Disney has a great army of people out there who translate their films. You know, they do that all the time, translating into French and German and various languages, Japanese. And what happened was we got the translators to come and do it. And we paid the courtesy, which I thought was wonderful, of being able to review what they had written to make sure that they stayed on line with story. Because the story had to be, let us learn to respect each other and care about each other. And all the versions, all the languages say the same story. And it's beautiful, yeah.
All right. We have another question.
One thing that surprises me, well, I'll tell you what it is. It's the fact that all these people are here and they all know the song, and everywhere my wife and I travel around the world, we hear it. That's the most amazing, gratifying, wonderful thing in the world. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I remember we were in Vietnam, and we were on a tour with some people, and 12 of us in a minivan. And we came to this little school, and they said, this little school is being sponsored by the ship line, and so we have a chance to come in and see how the children study and everything. So we stood in the back of this beautiful white building, and these beautiful children, all the older ones were in the back, and the young ones in the front. And the teacher grabbed them desk, and they all turned around and sang to us, "It's a Small World" in Vietnamese. It was the most thrilling moment, you know, because they didn't know me, and I certainly didn't know them, but there they were singing my song for me. And it was very, very moving, very special. And seeing the singers all around the world this morning doing the song in every language, everywhere, it was inconceivably powerful. It was very, a couple of guys up there are smiling, you know, Walt's smiling, my brother's smiling, I know I'm smiling.
I think we're all smiling.
A very simple answer to that. Our dad was a wonderful songwriter. He wrote great songs. His name was Al Sherman, and one of his most famous songs was the football anthem, "You Gotta Be a Football Hero." You know, you gotta be a football hero. Very big song. And he was a wonderful inspiration. He kind of put us together as a team. And the second part of the question was what? Who was my influence? And then the second part was, I forgot. You have to tell me.
The second part was, I turned off the question already. And did you ever disagree about lyrics?
Oh, always.
Yes.
We always disagreed about lyrics. You know, we say it this way, say it that way, and we compromised. We made a very strong agreement a long time ago in early collaborations that unless we both finally agreed on what was said and how it was said, we wouldn't show it to a third party. So we had Walt to play things for all the time. We had to agree. But there are many ways to approach something. And many times we compromise. A line would be Bob's, a line would be mine. One line would have a word change that I put in to make it different. Or he'd change a melodic line that I was coming up and say, do this. And we very much cared about how we would present these songs. And we did argue, not argue, we disagreed, and we sort of compromised. Compromise is a wonderful word.
I like that you came together as a unified front. You didn't show it to anyone else unless you were totally agreed.
Oh, no, can you imagine a songwriter saying, "Now my lyricist doesn't like this, but I think it's terrific." And you know, this is not the way to present a song. We were very much united in our front.
That's great.
Bob and I have 3 parts to a song. The most important part of the song is the idea, the concept, what it's all about, and why are you writing a song. Everybody in his Uncle Harry can write a song. I love you, or I miss you, I need you, I want you. You know, that kind of thing. Anybody writes those things, but you have to come with an original concept. And here we were confronted with this incredible experience. It was an emotional experience of children of all shapes, sizes, and looks singing together and saying one thought. And so the inspiration for the song was the first ingredient. And once we had that, we said, well, now we have to write about all these children. And, you know, what are we going to say? Everybody will live together in this place called the world, the earth, and we have so much in common. We have so much in common. That was the beginning. We have so much that we share. And then we said, we got to learn to live together. It's time we're aware it's a small world after all. And that was the inspiration. Then the melody just bang, out came the melody. It was just there. It was like, okay, that's how you say it.
And is that your typical writing process? Because we had a question from Amber C, who asks, what is your creative process when you're coming up with new material? It sounds like maybe the inspiration and then everything comes from there.
Definitely the concentration was on getting the idea and getting a good title, a grabbing title, something that would arrest somebody's interest, you know. So we'd always kind of try to come up with things. Sometimes we make up words to make it happen. But that's how we worked.
And Ella Rose via Twitter says, did you think at any point that the song would become so very iconic?
I wouldn't have dared to think it would become so iconic. You know, you don't think like that. We were thinking in terms of filling a job, doing a job for this wonderful attraction for UNICEF at the World's Fair. And when we finished the song and we played it for the Imagineers and Walt and everything, they were very excited about it. And we were, and I don't think anybody, except perhaps Walt, knew there was a lot of life going on with this song after the World's Fair. So we just said, well, we've done the job, now we're off, we're going to do something else. We were working on other pictures and other television projects and everything. So we were always busy working on things for Disney, but and it's sort of crept up on us. We get reports that say, you know, it's the biggest hit at the World's Fair, and they're demanding to get records from it. They're going to make records? Well, that's not, wow. You know, now there are thousands of records, and it's in every language. It's amazing, you know.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. When did you realize that it was such a big success and so powerful around the world?
Well, I think, you know, after the first year at the World's Fair and the reports were coming in of the numbers and everything, we realized it was kind of being marvelous. But we never realized it was going to be at Disneyland until about 2.5 years later, when we were walking down the hall in the animation building at the studio, and Walt was coming in another direction with a fellow with a black suit on. He looked like a banker. He was. It was the president of Bank of America, the original bank. And he stopped us in the hall and says, you know, we're taking that ride, we're putting it into Disneyland permanently. And then he kept walking. And I said, what is he talking about? I think he's talking about Small World. That's a true story, you know. Walt was never elaborate to anybody, but that was it. And he did.
That's a great story.
Wonderful, wonderful. There's so many of them, but I think working with Julie Andrews and Mary Poppins was a highlight because she was a glorious, glorious voice, a wonderful voice, a great actress, a wonderful, wonderful presence. And she embodied the dreams that we had been dreaming for years of doing this movie. It was quite a struggle to get the picture made. I don't know if anybody has seen Saving Mr. Banks, but see it before. It's a true story. It was a very difficult job getting the rights to do it. And finally, when we did have the rights, and it was fleshed out by a wonderful writer named Bill Walsh and our pal Don DeGradi, they wrote the script, and Bob and I finished the score. And then Julie Andrews came on board, and the wonderful Dick Van Dyke. It was just fantastic. And when I heard her sing Spoonful of Sugar, happy tears.
It's one of my favorites.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump back.
The one thing about Walt was the fact that story was everything to him. If you tell a good story and you tell it well, that's what he was made of. He was a great storyteller. I think he even said it, somewhere quoted, that if he wanted to be known for anything, he'd like to be known as a storyteller, a good storyteller. That's what he liked. And I think when Bob and I first were handed the book of Mary Poppins, and we were looking at these wonderful individual stories, there was no one storyline to tell a story about. And so we kind of concocted a story. And we told Walt, he gave us the book and he wanted us to know what we thought of it. And so we said, Walt, it's a great collection of individual stories, but there's no through line. We came up with a line for a story, and we had some ideas about how to present it. And he listened to everything. And I played him Feed the Birds. I said, that's the hub of the whole thing. It doesn't take much to give love. And he sort of smiled, because that's what he was doing all the time, giving that extra little bit of love to people. That's what he did with this part. And so he said, you fellas think story. That's good. How'd you like to work for me? And that's when he hired us. So I say, he taught me, stick with the story.
Stick with the story. That's beautiful. You're getting me all choked up.
Early each day to the steps of St. Paul's, the little old bird woman comes. In her own special way, to the people she calls, come buy my hands full of crumbs.
Wanted to get out of the way.
Come feed the little birds, show them you care, and you'll be glad if you do. Their young ones are hungry, their nests are so bare. All it takes is tuppence from you. Feed the birds, tuppence, 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 tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds fill the skies all around the cathedral. The saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Her words are simple and few. Listen, listen, she's calling to you. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence.